first day, we will free the DCI. We will free the KRA from state capture.
I can account for every day of the 1,000 days.
Welcome back. Now, 1,000 days into President William Ruto's rule, a disturbing truth shadows his promises. This is no longer just political story. It is personal account of the suppressed rights and freedoms, state-sanctioned abduction and disappearances. It is a story of Jacinta Nyango, a grieving mother who lost her 9-year-old son in protests, and chaos of Bernard Kavuli, stripped and tortured for speaking out, of Bomjagi and Longton brothers who vanished for weeks. These are the faces behind the numbers, behind 159 cases of extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances documented in just a year. Tonight, Laban Shaban tells their stories and asks, who protects the people when the state turns predator?
President William Ruto's 1,000 days in office have been marked not by reforms in the security sector, despite deliberate efforts to improve it, but by a sharp and chilling rise in human rights abuses.
I, William Samoei Ruto.
The head of state lifted the Bible on September 13th, 2022 to take the oath of office. It was a day of fanfare filled with hope, where he arrived not just as a leader, but as a man carrying the weight of a nation's expectations. He came bearing promises, promises of peace, promises of security. One such vow was delivered during the funeral service of General Francis Omondi Ogola.
There shall never be another occasion where we have bodies of Kenyans in Rivayala. It will never happen again. Not under my watch.
But under his watch, that very promise is slowly being undone. What once sounded like a pledge to protect life has now transformed into a growing debt, one the president seems unable or perhaps unwilling to repay.
The promise should have been that extrajudicial killings will continue and will continue.
Senior Programs Advisor at the Kenya Human Rights Commission, Martin Mavenjina, also weighs in.
President Ruto has spectacularly failed. In fact, if I was to mark him out of 100, I would not even give him 1%, because when you look at Ruto 1,000 days into his presidency,
the 1,000 days in office have been shadowed by arbitrary abductions, enforced disappearances, and a mounting toll of extrajudicial killings. This is now deeply etched into the record of this regime. 159 cases of extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances were documented in 2024 alone. This is according to the Missing Voices annual report. Out of the 159, 104 or 65% were police killings. The other 55, about 35%, were enforced disappearances. One of those 159 names is Bernard Kavulis, a young and bold journalism student. He was among the youth who amplified the Ruto Must Go movement in June 2024.
Ruto Must Go is not only my call, it's everybody's call actually. So I'm not the one saying Ruto Must Go.
On December 22nd, 2024, Kavuli was abducted from a petrol station in Ngong, Kajiado County. He vanished for 15 days. During that time, he was tortured, stripped, and starved. His dignity eroded, his spirit tested.
They told me that their mandate there is to protect the presidency, under whatever circumstance, even if it means death.
Kavuli made it out and lived to tell. But what about those who never returned? What about those killed during the anti-tax protest of June 2024? Among the youngest victims, Kennedy Onyango, aged just 12. He was caught in the brutal crackdown in Rongai on June 28th. What does a child of 12 know about the economy or the finance bill.
Mwanangu alikuwa na 12 years, hata jui bei ya unga, hata jui watu walikuwa napigania nini, hata ukimuuliza jui.
Jacinta has refused to suffer in silence. On Madaraka Day, she tried to hand a letter demanding justice to President William Ruto as he was delivering his national address. She was manhandled and dragged away. Still, she resists. Still, she pleads. Still, she hopes for truth, for recognition, for closure. Another name on this growing list, Erickson Chalo, a peaceful protester gunned down outside Parliament, allegedly by police. His mother, Caroline Mutisia, says she knows exactly where the blame lies.
Akona shida. Unajua kuna ile askari, mkubwa wa askari. Si anaweza arumua askari wengine waende washikwe.
Justice, however, remains elusive. No police officer has been held accountable, not even the one case that seemed different, the case of Rex Masai. It looks like hope is in sight, but even that is hanging by a thread. The investigation drags, the police resist, and political will remains a mirage.
The admission by Ruto on different occasions about, that all those who have been abducted have been returned is a clear confirmation that the government has been at the heart of these enforced disappearances, and these are lawful killings.
Bob Njagi, yet another outspoken critic, disappeared for more than 4 weeks.
I'm a survivor of abductions, and I was abducted for 32 days.
Njagi was abducted alongside activists Aslam and Jamil Longton in August 19, 2024, snatched by masked men in Mlolongo and Kitengela. They were brutally tortured, both physically and psychologically, during their detention.
Our abductors never came out clearly and said who they were, but I believe they were state agents.
Still mi bado ni mwanaharakati. Sita lose hope. Tazidi kupigania wa Kenya.
It's not easy to fight for freedoms. Those who are oppressing the people have to fight back.
They were finally released on September 20th, 2024, dumped in remote areas of Tigoni and Gashie, somewhere between Nairobi and Kiambu.
I did not actually believe I'm being set free. I thought that was the day they're going to finish us on that particular day.
Sisi vijana tuchukue kura, tukue na ID. Ili 2027 tuweze kufagia wote waende nyumbani.
I think that we must have a regime change, and a total complete regime change, so that we introduce a new government that can enhance human rights and give justice to all those victims of extrajudicial killings and abductions.
Kenya's human rights record is under fresh scrutiny, with multiple global watchdogs ranking the country in the mid-tier, both regionally and worldwide. According to the Freedom House 2025 report, Kenya scored 51 out of 100 and remains classified as partly free, meaning some political rights and civil liberties are respected, but significant restrictions exist. Meanwhile, the global rights groups Civicus downgraded Kenya's civic space from obstructed, limited space for activism and legal and practical barriers to repressed. Civic freedoms are severely curtailed with widespread harassment or violence.
Every year, in fact, Kenyans are actually dying of police bullets as opposed to natural causes.
The Fund for Peace's Fragile States Index also places Kenya among the top 40 most fragile countries globally. The organization cites concern over rule of law and accountability. Rights experts say the country risks further decline unless urgent reforms are undertaken to protect civil liberties and end impunity. 1,000 days of promises and 1,000 cracks in the trust of the people. From broken vows to broken families, this is not just a story about politics. It's about pain, power, and the price paid by Kenyans for speaking out. And for justice, it is missing in action. Laban Shaban, NTV, Nairobi.